Hello, and welcome to the space between ideas. I'm Blaine Gates, and it looks like it's starting to work good. We got it. All right, let's do it. All right, let's get this going right away. So, what happened? Let me show you. As you remember, I'm gonna just share the Gemini, Google Gemini. As you can see here, this is my old account. This is my Blaine W Gates at gmail.com account, and I had the color when you have the advanced, they have this little colors of Google around your profile picture, and it says Gemini Advanced. Um, anyways, so what happened was actually I didn't even realize I was using this Google Gemini. Well, let's do some reading. So it says I have set up two Gemini windows and asked one to play the role of an architect, the other to play the role of liaison in a software development project. I will paste their thoughts below, and I want you to help me understand what I should do next. The this might be They might be confused about their roles right now, and we need to make some decisions before we start working. Architect. So this is what the architect said. Now, what do you mean? What do you mean? This is what the architect said, right? That's the question. What architect? What are you talking about? What did the architect say? Now, if you've seen my other videos, you have some understanding of what I'm talking about, especially since we wrapped up sprint number one last week or whenever that was. I guess it was last week. All right, so you can see on my Notion page that my understanding of like how do we use cursor, how do we use windsurf, how do we use replete software, and they call it vibe coding. The thing is that I used Firebase. Firebase is just like cursor and windsurf, and I plugged in the API. So I plugged in the Gemini 2.5 API, and I was able to do vibe coding, and I was able to actually do my whole project. And I was really surprised because I tried to build this project a couple of times with cursor and windsurf and replete, and it never works. And then suddenly I used Firebase, and everything was fine. What was the problem with uh, with the API and Firebase? Problem with the Firebase, like eventually Firebase is gonna obviously gonna get past. It's gonna surpass these other tools, obviously, because it did my project, and the other ones couldn't even come close to doing those projects. So Firebase, yeah, I'm a big fan until you use up the like $300. So when you start an account with Firebase, you have to use the API, and the way that you use the API, you have to go to Google AI Studio. Looks like this. Now, once you get to the Google AI Studio, then you click Get an API key, and then once you create your API key, this is giving away my something. All right. I don't think this is going to do anything. No. Okay. So once you create your API key, then what happens is you're going to plug in your API key into your Google Cloud projects. And so you have to create a Google Cloud project. And then when you open up Firebase, Firebase Studio, here's Firebase. Once you open up your Firebase Studio, see, here's my Arrowhead app. Then what you're going to do is you're going to plug in your API into this project. Now, as long as you're using your API, then it's going to do amazing things. It's like magical, the most magical code tool I've ever seen. It's way better than Cursor and Windsurf and Replete. And it did my project. It finally did my project. I started using my software with the people that I'm doing business coaching with, and everything was fun and fantastic and wonderful until suddenly I got a message from Google that said, "Oh, wait a minute, you got to pay us $35 because you used up all of your credits." Okay, so I paid up the credits. I paid up the bill. I said, fine, it's fine. 35 bucks for an app is pretty cool. So, then I went to Google Cloud Studio, and you can actually, you can kind of calibrate it a little bit. You can tell it like, hey, I don't want to spend more than $1 a day on my API. So I set the limit to $1 a day, and I wanted to see like how many changes could I make for $1 a day, expecting that it was going to stop. Well, it didn't stop. So I made one change. So there was like basically there's like on my profile page, I wanted to be able to see all of the different users that I was creating, and I wanted to be able to switch between users because I have a couple of people that I was coaching, and I wanted to be able to remember like what actually did I use as a username when I created a profile for them. All right, it did that change, and then I got another message that I owed them another $35. And I'm like, "What are you talking about, $35?" So immediately I had to remove the API from from my um, from my Firebase Studio because I can't pay $35 for every single change that I make. So next thing you know, after so you can see, uh, well, I don't actually see where I can change it right now. Looks like something changed. Maybe it's just not loaded yet. Anyways, what happened was before you could actually change the model that you're using right here. Here. So here's the. So I was gonna there. I was gonna use this one, the Gemini 2.5 preview. Now you can't really use it very long. I mean, you can pick this, and then then exactly you have to go get your API key. And then the problem is that once you use your API key, then they're going to start charging you. And then once they start charging you, that's like it's too risky because you can't control how much they're charging you. So I decided, fine, I'll just use their built-in model. Now, once I started using their built-in model, somehow my front end just completely disappeared. So, and I don't know how to like go back. I haven't figured out like how do I go back to like was it saved at some point? I mean, that's the question is can I go back? I want to go back. That's exactly what I want to do. But I don't think that's going to go back to what I'm thinking. Like I want to go back to a specific day. Can I go back to a certain day? And this is what happens when you commit. You see first commit, initial commit, things like that. So if you don't save your code at a certain time, then you're going to have some serious problems. Anyway, so I decided, okay, whatever. I'm not going to do this anymore. So I just decided, okay, enough. I'm not going to do that anymore. And I just canceled my Google AI Studio. I got in a big fight with Google Cloud, and I sent them like numerous messages. And finally, they said, okay, well, I guess we'll give you 50% off. So instead of having to pay for my $35, they charged me $20 basically, because you can't send less than $20 at one time. So anyways, finally I deleted my billing project. So I paid the $20 and then I deleted my billing project. I deleted everything. So I no longer am using Google Cloud services. It can't. It's just too dang expensive. And and you can't figure out like how much is it going to cost. So yeah, it would be nice for me to be able to like learn Google Cloud and like how I can use this and what's going on and how it all works. But unfortunately, it's too dang expensive. So if it's going to be that expensive, I guess I can't use it. All right, so now we're back to the drawing board, and I've been working on this project. So what my new strategy is that I have a basic methodology of what it means to run a software project, and basically game pieces. Let's jump into game pieces. So when I teach people business consulting the methodology behind some coaching techniques, the first thing we talk about is like there's basically three functions in a business. And this is me right here. I'm the coach. So I'm teaching thinking frameworks. A lot of my students are analysts, and a lot of my students are also managers. It's much more difficult for me to coach people who are just following orders because thinking tools are generally to help managers to make decisions. So the analyst and the coach, they're they're giving information to help the manager to double check potential solutions. Actually, the coach and the analyst are providing information about what can we do, how can we do it, how sure are we. This is related to the work that's being done by the hands. So these guys, you can ask them, okay, what's happening and what do we have to work with? So then the technicians, so most people think of technicians as like fixing stuff, but in this case, it's just talking about a person who's actually doing the main service or producing the product of the business. All right, so their hands are using tools. Then the next guys, the clerks, their hands are using paper. And then the librarian, their hands are using a computer because they need to have a computer to house all the paperwork that's created because of the service or whatever is being done. All right, so then the analyst goes in and takes all that data, and then they start to figure out like, what can we do? How can we do it? How sure are we? And then the coach, they provide additional thinking models to help the manager to make decisions about the data that they're getting from the analyst. All right, then after they get that, how sure are we and what can we do? Then the manager eventually has to double check those potential solutions and make a decision. Bada bing, bada boom. Now, when I talk to my students, then usually I provide an example because I want them to see like these three different things in a real example. For example, if we're going to create some automated tests, let's say that we have some software and there's too many bugs in the code. So sometimes people, what they do is they create automated tests. So now, okay, what goes on? So you have to decide which tool you're going to use. Now, who's going to make a decision about what tool is going to be used? Obviously, it's going to be your hands, right? So it's the testers, the architect. What do you mean by hands? We can think of the idea as a tool as using hands. The testers are going to select the actual specific type of testing software, the automated testing software, which is going to be testing the software. And the architect is going to help the tester to make a decision because the architect knows the specific architect of what's going on in the software. All right, so these people are called responsible and accountable, meaning responsible, they're actually going to do the work, means that they're going to make a decision about which testing tool to use, and accountable, meaning that if they pick the wrong tool, they're getting fired. One of these guys is going to get fired if we get the wrong tool because we need to find somebody who knows how to pick the right tool and then knows how to use that tool. Now, in this case, also, we're going to talk to the developers because we need their consultation. They need to be consulted. So, and then the rest of the people, they're just going to get an email. They're called informed. All right. So hands, that's the first level, right? The following orders level. In this case, the decision maker, the team lead or the manager, they're going to delegate authority to the tester and the architect to make a decision about which testing tool will be used. Now, next, we need to decide which workflows are going to be prioritized, meaning which bugs are we going to fix first. Now, the business analyst, this word business analyst, it's different in software. This one means that they're going to talk to the customer. So here, responsible and accountable means that they're getting information directly from the customers about what is going on. So you can see here, customers are sending messages at the website and telling them that some buttons don't work, some features don't work, there's bugs in the code. So the business analyst is going to tell the architect. Now, in this case, the architect is actually what is an analyst. So in the first case, the architect is the hands that create the architecture. The second one, the architect is now a thinking framework or a data analyst with the business analyst, and they're making the decision about which workflows should be finalized. What finalized? Which should be prioritized. And then everybody else it depends, but in this case, in this company, this specific case, all of the people were in the room. They're like, hey, we need to talk to everybody because this is a big issue. And eventually they decided which workflows would be tested. All right, finally, we're talking about the last one. So now we need to set the objectives and the key results. So in this case, what we're talking about is the project manager, because at the end of the day, like choosing an automated test, choosing which automated tests you're going to use, and then making decisions about the objectives and the key results is the responsibility of the manager. In fact, all of the decisions that are being made have been delegated to the other people to make on behalf of the manager. All right. Now, why am I focusing on this? Because a software team is about a bunch of different people. Okay, question. Who's the business analyst? In this case, it's me. Why? Because I'm the designer. I designed the software. I made the wireframes. I understand how it all works. I have shown many times, this is how the software actually works. These are the screens. These are the loops. This is how everything works. So I am the business analyst. Well, definitely not me, because I have no understanding of how software works. And so I decided to hire AI. I decided to go AI first, and I'm going to pick an architect. Now, the tester as well. Um, I could have a tester as a separate AI, but in general, what happened is okay, developer, that's going to be Windsurf, that's going to be Cursor, that's going to be Replete. And then Scrum Master, we don't really need a Scrum Master. So actually, instead of having a tester and a developer, I have an architect, and the other one I call it a liaison, right? So I have basically have two different people, two different AI bots on my team. All right. Now, what happened next is I got two Gemini windows, and I uploaded all of these documents. There's like the first initial docs, and then it's about the tech stack we're using, the brand book. Then I talked about like how to calibrate for the sprint. So, for example, what are the sprints? What is the role of the architect and the liaison? And then here are the lessons of the liaison, lessons learned but from the liaison from sprint number one, lessons learned from the architect in sprint number one. So I uploaded all of these documents to two different um, windows in Google. I decided to go with Google uh, Gemini. Why? We don't need to look at the master prompt. Why? Well, because what I decided to do was uh, decided to change. I was actually surprised that my Google Advanced account was on my Blaine W. Gates at gmail.com account because I actually wanted it to be on Space Between Ideas. So now I got another free month of Google Gemini. So I said, okay, if you're going to give me another free month, then let's do it. All right. So you can see here's one screen, here's the other screen, and this is exactly the same. So I just opened up two different screens. In both cases, I uploaded the exact same documents. I said, I'm going to upload a series of documents, and I don't want you to comment too much. I just want you to read the content of each doc and then tell me at the end of uploading process if you're ready to go. And do you need me to write too much? You don't need to write too much text. If you decide to respond after I upload each document, then you should only upload the comments that you think would be helpful for future processing when you use it for understanding how to work with me until within this context window. All right, so it says sure, and then all right. So what is this project overview? Well, project overview, it's obviously probably doc one, right? Now, this preview thing almost never works. Here it is, project overview. All right, that's doc one. So I'm guessing that the next one is going to say application structure. All right, let's go back. So we got project overview. Okay, I understand the project overview. Nice. Here, application structure. Great, I understand application structure. Detailed module specifications. Great, I understand that too. And then I uploaded all of the wireframe. So this is kind of a complicated thing because when I upload the image doc, it can't actually see the images right now. Now I didn't maybe it can't see the images because there aren't any images. All right, you can see the images. All right, so but it's like, yeah, it says I can see the word choose PNG, but I can't see the images. So right now, although it's possible to click this button to add a file, you can click add from drive, and then it opens up your drive, and then you go to shared with me, and then I pick my arrowhead, then I go into calibration, and then here we go. So here's the images file. But then when I upload the images file, it's like, sorry, I can't really see the images. So it's okay. I have another set of images. I just pop it in, I just uploaded them all together. And then if you go through this one, you can see at the end of this doc, maybe it's not in this one. Here. So at the end of this doc, you can see it's got project page, PNG, module page, scoreboard page. So I needed to also upload the images that correspond with those reference images. And it says, great, I got all the images. So far it understands everything. Oh, I forgot one of the images. It says, okay, don't worry, I understand. Then we go to document number 5. Okay, so here it says, okay, I will do my best to act as your proactive, flexible partner. And then we go into technology set. Great. So we now know the backend language, the backend framework, database, hosting platform, authentication, or ORM validation library. You see, with each step, and then we go into simplified brand guidelines. Okay, I understand what's going on with your UI, your colors, how everything should look, the feel, and then what? And then we got the sprint roadmap. And it's like, all right, now I get it. Now I can see how everything comes together within the sprint. And then it says, okay, which of these approaches feels right to start with. Then I talk about the roles, processes, and best practice. So I go into here. Okay, so it's like this provides a clear and refined operational model, especially the distinction between the architect AI handling high-level strategy and planning and the liaison AI IDE specialist AI, which will be my primary role in this chat. So it makes a misunderstanding here because it thinks, now, I mean, this could be the liaison, but you can't see it. But, well, I can show you. Hold on a second. So if we choose window, you can see that, like, what I do. Why is going on? That doesn't make sense. Oh, because it's on the. Okay, anyways. Why is it this? That's weird. It thinks that it's sharing this, but it's not actually sharing that. Hold on a second. Stop sharing. All right. I think I got it now. Okay. I'm going to pull this one out just so I know that I'm showing the right one. Yes, I'm showing the right one. Okay, so now you can see in like the top, you can see all my tabs. So you know that, okay, the one on the left is always going to be the architect. The one on the right is always going to be liaison. It thinks it's liaison right now. Anyway, so then what? Liaison AI workflow best practices. And now it's like, this is extremely valuable addition to our context. It provides practical, experience-based insights from Sprint Run that directly inform how I should operate as liaison AI. Preparing for the architect, have me. Okay, so it still thinks that it's architect. So I'm guessing that both of them are both thinking that they're liaison at this point. So you can see this is the right-hand tab. I do the exact same thing. I upload all the same same documents. It does kind of act a little bit differently. Architect AI workflow. I'm ready to proceed. All right. So how is it? Okay. I've received the process. This document provides a valuable insight from the perspective of the architect persona. Okay, received it. This is another excellent document. Provide deep insight into the collaboration framework. So it kind of basically, so it thinks that it's the liaison AI. Yeah, this one doesn't see itself as liaison AI. And we got the now I uploaded the MVP for Sprint One, and then it's like, all right, let's do it. We're ready to go. But then I upload the Sprint One review. It's like, okay, we finished Sprint One. And then I uploaded it again. And then I upload the MVP detailed plan for Sprint 2. Okay, so at this point, this was the whole point. This is the whole reason behind the concept of um, why I'm using these project calibration tools, is because now my AI is right here with us. Image, pick which role you want. What is the image? It's weird. Image. Imagine. All right, so imagine you were upload the same set of documents into another Google Gemini context window, just like I did here in this one. I think this I can be defined as a context window. I don't know how you call yourself or this window that we're now chatting on, And imagine that I already have another context window open and I've labeled it architect, just as I've outlined you as the liaison. And I was just wondering that if it's my job in the general project manager, I'm also the person who designed the application and the person who has been working with the previous architect in previous days on to make sure that everybody's focused in getting the work done. And that if I wanted to reduce the amount of work, I'm doing the thinking and that I would just want to do very basic role of copy and paste. For example, I would copy and paste things that you say, and then I would copy and paste the things that the other team members say. And in order to be able to get the work complete and have a proper workflow, the best chances at getting you and well to the other architect and in the liaison, and also the other tools like Cursor, Windsurf, and Riplit, and to be able to work with the most optimal level, should I reload all these documents into a third context window or even a fourth context window, and then create another role, which I would then be able to copy and paste into Windows, having just a liaison. And so it didn't exactly get all the audio right. Anyways, I did the same one for this one. Is it the same? Yeah, it's the same. The only difference is I just changed the word liaison. All right, so I labeled you as the architect and the other one is liaison. So I just changed that. So now it's like, okay, I'm the architect and I'm the liaison. Now I was gonna like paste some text in here, but then I eventually just deleted it. Why? Because I don't know. So what happened was, okay, so this one says that's an interesting question. Current model, a third AI role, a copy and paste, potential workflow with an operator AI. An operator AI decides to pass it to the liaison AI, and then the liaison is I'm going to generate the prompt for the IDE, give it to the operator, or I give it to the operator or you. The operator gives it to you. It's like, what would the operator do? Potential downsides of an operator: risk of information degradation, context synchronization, role definition. The operator's role may be ambiguous. Eventually, I'm like, is the architect liaison enough? And handles the high level. So the architect handles what and why. Liaison, it's like directly how, using the creating prompts for the IDE execution. And then I'm overseeing the whole process. So it basically says, nah, we'll just do it. We'll just keep it the way that we're doing it now. Okay, we've agreed to proceed with two AI model. Okay, and then what? So to ensure that we kick off sprint two with maximum clarity on roles, how can we collaborate most effectively within our two AI model? I appreciate you confirming the approach. Let's address your opinion. Okay, so role confirmation. Yes, I absolutely agree. My core responsibility is liaison AI is to translate the architect AI's strategic plans and objectives into detailed tactical and executional steps, essentially define how. Craft specific actionable prompts for you to use in the AI IDEs tailored to their capabilities and task at hand. Analyze the exact output, success message, error logs, file contents that you relay from the IDEs. Troubleshoot any technical issues that arise during execution, iterating on prompts or suggesting diagnostic steps. Guide you step by step through the development process, ensuring that we maintain momentum and align with the sprint goals. Make sensible low-level decisions, naming conventions, minor library configurations consistent with established architecture and tech stack to reduce your cognitive load and keep the process flowing. This aligns perfectly with the description of the AI collaboration roles and processes, best practices, and the Liaison AI workflow lessons and best practices document. Information needs from the Architect AI to effectively generate high-quality prompts for the AI IDEs and make sound tactical decisions. The following from the Architect AI relying on you would be most helpful: clear, unambiguous objectives and sprint goals, rationale, technical specifications and constraints, acceptable criteria, priority and sequencing, existing contextual references, essentially, blah, blah, blah. All right. So exact complete output, error messages. So it's just going through like, so we know now, okay, now we got sprint two kickoff. The high level sprint two MVP detailed plan is implement core project management CRUD for projects and the visual module, including the basic UI API routes, data handling, association tests. This breaks down 3 main objectives: implement core navigation and page structure UI, implement full CRUD and display for projects, implement vision module to begin formulating detailed prompts and success. I anticipate needing the following clarifications from your architect. Prioritize sequencing within the objectives. For objective A, for objective B, for objective C, handling the field projects, objective B, objective C, blah, 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 blah. All right. So then what I did was I just pasted that into the architect. Now, obviously, you realize that I gave the architect, well, the architect, I think I recommend sticking with the two. Yeah. So it also did the two. And then, so then I uploaded the thing from there. It's okay, Project Manager, thank you for initiating this clarification during our roles. Okay. Role confirmation, communication with liaison. And then, anyway, so we go back and forth. It's not that important. It's mostly just like as long as you save the documents and you continually ask them for like, okay, so I pasted this into, all right, so this one's from architect. Okay, project manager. As you can see, I mostly work with liaison. I feel more comfortable working with liaison. Architect is just, I don't know, you just go there and say, hey, architect, this is where we're at. All right, liaison, now let's get to work. Okay, project manager, thank you for relaying the liaison AI's clarification. The following, thank you, thoughtful question, prioritizing. Yeah, so it's going to go through all the different elements of what it thinks we need to do. So this was my last post from the architect. Okay, project manager, thank you for relaying the detailed guidance from architect AIs regarding my question for sprint 2. I've received the process from architect's response thoroughly. This guidance is exceptionally clear and provides the necessary architectural direction and prioritization for me to effectively generate the technical steps and prompts for sprint 2. I specifically understand that and will adhere to the following points. Objective A, sequencing, will guide the creation of pages first, files first, then implement the basic static layout structure, followed by the authentication check, and finally the placeholder navigation links. Objective B, sequencing, we will implement the test and okay. Now, I don't really care. Oh, what is this? First step, create the basic page file for project page. Provide the following prompt to your cursor. Okay, it's ready. So it's ready to prompt cursor. But I see there's one error here. Because is that the name of the project? Yeah, I had a really weird experience. I don't really know how to explain it. Okay, so that means what? That means um, that the role of this. So I used this AI because why did I end up using my other Google AI? This is so gigantic. All right, so acknowledge. So I started asking this one what it thought, and I actually used this to create some prompts. So here's prompt architect AI. Okay, architect AI. We've agreed to bring the two model, and then anyway, so I used the third AI to kind of here's the response from the architect, and then it's like, okay, well, what do we need to do? Okay, we need to talk to liaison, and then okay, so then we spoke to a liaison, and then so I used the third AI window just to facilitate the conversation about that. Anyways, we can close that now. We can also close all of these these windows we used to calibrate. Um, we can also close. This is, I don't know what this is. I suppose it's this one. No, it's not this one. What is this? I don't know. I think this is the old architect, but for some reason it brought up the old architect chat window within my new Google Advanced. But it doesn't matter. So we're just going to let that one die. And we're also going to let that one die. So those are our old architect and our old liaison. We're no longer using them. These are different to-do list apps and Asana and a couple of different tools that I think maybe I could connect with, and Slack. So because eventually my tool is going to become, it needs to get in sync with all of those other tools. Now here we got how many tokens I've used in Windsurf, how many tokens I've used in Cursor, and then here's our buddy buds. We got our, all right, so this is our Supabase. I'm using a version. Oh, okay, so we need to turn on Docker. Okay. So what can we do? We can close up the racer matrix. We can close up this one. 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 We can, that's me. We can, I mean, we don't really need to have that window open. All right, so then here is our localhost 3001. Here's our localhost 3000. Here is our layout. Here's our project launch roadmap. Here's where we're keeping all of our files, which is actually not true anymore. I don't know why that has the blue thing around it. Okay, so now we're actually using, well, we don't actually have to save the files in this Google Drive. We can continue to save the files in the original file folder. Here's my replete. Now you can see here the guidance MVP. The cursor, I changed the name, but I don't know. I feel like I can't remember. Did I change it one way or did I change it another? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Here's our Supabase. All right, so now we're going to get out of our current share mode. Now we're going to share the whole screen. Entire screen. All right. Okay, so where are we going from here? We got to get our Docker opened up. Yeah, we got to get Docker open. We also need our cursor. We need our windsurf. Now remember, I created some kind of like, I call it a master prompt. I don't really remember what the master prompt. I tried to create a shortcut to the master prompt, but I don't remember what it was. It's something like, oh, it's a new day, start those engines, or I don't know, something like that. What's going on with cursor? How come cursor's not starting now? Let's get those engines revving. All right, we got our cursor up. Our windsurf is starting to move, and we're using 2.5. I suppose that means it doesn't have the new Gemini, which is fine. So we're using Gemini with cursor. We're using the 4.1 promo, which uses significantly less credits with that one. And then with our replete, we're using 3.5 Sonnet. I read some comments. They said that the 3.7 Sonnet is a little bit crazy. Anyway, so we could just... All right, so let's start up the engines. Here's our cursor prompt. Select all. Well, anyways, doesn't really matter. I think it can figure out what's going on. Copy. We're going to pop this in here. Get the engine started. And then we got their master prompt for windsurf. So you can see like all of this stuff that I've created, it's just to maintain the context. Everything is about context. Like, why did I finally decide to go with Gemini? It's because I went into ChatGPT and I asked, like, which one would be the best? Like, which AI chatbot is the best to help me to do this, to do these projects? And it's like, well, actually, ChatGPT is probably the best one because we're cool and stuff. Oh, and by the way, our context window is like 125,000 whatever tokens. And then what about the other one? What about Claude? And it's like, oh, that one's however many thousand tokens. And then what about the other one? What about Gemini? Oh, Gemini's 1 million. 1 million. So you're saying that, like, how many tokens did I use just calibrating this window? So it means that, like, I only have enough tokens. If I use ChatGPT, I only have enough tokens to calibrate I can't actually get through a full sprint with ChatGPT or Claude. So I'm actually forced to use Gemini just because I need them to have the full context of the project. All right, what's going on here? All right, so Liaison. Okay, so before we get started, I created a master prompt to get cursor running after I turn off my computer. Here is the master prompt. Ding, ding, ding. So looks like the master prompt is having some problems. Here is the reply from cursor. I need you to change the master prompt so that we get everything running rather than getting this response that cursor is confused, has errors, or doesn't know what to do. All right, what did it actually say? I wish there was an audio function here. I could just click. Okay, how should I check this? Don't have any weighted this. Graphs, application browser. I don't get that. So why does it say it's here? Oh no, Superbase could not find Superbase doing one of the. It seems I need to specify the path relative to the workflow. Let's try. I have this under this. Okay, what's going on? Okay, I understand. You want to refine your prompt to ensure cursor can get your entire development environment guidance project up and running smoothly, especially by reliably verifying what's in the server. It's ready. Your main goal is challenge is this. Start this. Here's a revised version of your master prompt according to set. I'll focus on making step 5 more robust. Oh, Gordon wants to go outside. All right, well, let's finish this before we go outside. Well, the prompt I shared with you was in Markdown. The new file you give me should also be in Markdown. and allow me to simply copy and paste the text. Here's some more context about what happened previously before we do any more changes, before we make changes. Okay, this was there. See, the issue is I don't think I pasted enough context. So I don't like this about cursor right now, because after I do the master prompt, where's the place where here's cursor. Okay, I'll get their development environment. Did it do everything? Okay, I'll get your development environment. It did everything. Bash CD. Okay. By the way, this was in the what do you call that? The terminal in cursor from before. Do you still need me to do something before you make the edits to the master prompt? Okay. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to go back and click this one, and then we're going to click this one. Okay, same thing that happened last time. All right. All right, so it seems that startup process worked, but better prompt that takes into consideration the issues that cursor had to resolve by itself would be better, so that it's a faster process that doesn't create any errors. Here's what happens. All right. So I put everything in there, and there. All right, let's see what happens this time. So probably it's going to update my prompt again. Then we're just going to go back to this. We're going to go back to the top. We're going to edit our prompt. All right, now we're going to take a little, just wait a second. Okay, let's try her again. So let's pop her in here. It's executed in this one. Test cursor instead of this. This. Okay, it's likely because the last terminal was this. Change it, confirm it. Working directory is now this. Okay, this typical base command was now found. I'll now execute this. Check all 4 versions. Versions are this. This execute this. It's already running. Provided necessary details. Then we got some errors. Anyways, I'm just gonna keep working on this. I'm gonna fix the master command for cursor and the master command for windsurf, the master prompt to get everything running. Once everything's running, then we'll probably tomorrow we'll jump onto the yeah, I'm just gonna go back and forth like this until I can turn it on and off, and it's just boots up without any problems, and everything's green lights and everything's smooth and wonderful and lovely. I'll do the same thing with windsurf. Yes, based on this, it performed very well, successfully completed all steps. They were slightly wobbly. Initially, I thought it was the correct directory, then realized after this it wasn't, which is correct. While it's self-corrected, here's a slightly, okay, so now we got a third prompt. Well, I might as well just show this to you since we've been working on this for a really long time. We're going to go back to the top. We're going to see, and also look, if I try to like just highlight it and then move my cursor up. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just close cursor completely. I'm not going to do windsurf right away. So then I'm going to take Docker out. I'm going to, once Docker's off, I'm going to, there we go. So everything's definitely off. I'm going to throw up Docker. New version available. Well, we'll do that later. You're now signed in. Docker is running. There's a little thing here. Probably that means, yeah, download update. We're not going to do that right away. Now we're going to do this. There we go. Our Supabase is up and running. Now we're going to upload cursor. We're going to take this last prompt. If it doesn't work, I'm still going to end the video, just so you know. Because obviously you can tell that this is just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yeah, so you can see the whole point of the system that I've created. Okay, I'll help you development. Here's the terminal command. There's the working directory. Check the versions. There, it didn't get an error. It's looking sweet. Everything looks like it's working. And we still get an error. All right, anyways, I got to go outside. The dog's asleep. Command. Where's the click? Now I want to close this now. Still runs during a software update. All right. Anything else you wanted to say? Not really. I guess what we could do is we could go into windsurf. Before I test that prompt, do you think this windsurf master prompt will have any issues? All right, so Docker's back up. Cursor, we need to bring cursor back up. And we need to go and copy that cursor thing. Here it is. Version 5. Now I'm going to just save version 5. All right, now let's test this thing out. The Dickens. All right. Start your engines. Yes, I can review the previous documentation attempting this. Let me check the documents. Provides clear answer. Sprint 1. The key accomplishments, it states that shared local superbase stack. Liaison document captures it under general principles. Based on established processes, the environment is responsible starting and stopping shared local superbase stack. Windsurf should act as a client to this instance. Therefore, windsurf prompt step 3 should be modified so that windsurf does not attempt to execute this. Instead, it should do this. Does this clarify? Okay, so do you want to give me the new windsurf markdown? prompt, Meister prompt. There you go. So now we saw a real reason why we have calibration tools and documentation, because it helps us to answer questions. So I'm going to use that one to update our windsurf. Now we're going to copy this, go into the specific log, and then we're going to copy this there. Now you can see that I'm going to start using up that 1 million context window pretty quick, which is fine. So which brings me to my last point, which is that we always have a current step calibration. What current step calibration is for is that it gives us an update to the Sprint 2 document. And it gives us, in addition to the Sprint 2 document, it tells us exactly where we are, the current step. Therefore, I can close the window, the liaison window, at any time, and then I just go through the whole process again, upload all the calibration documents up to the current step calibration. Once we get to the current step, like I haven't actually updated the current step calibration because we're on the first step of Sprint 2, so we don't need to update the current step calibration. After we finish the current step for Sprint 2, I mean tomorrow, probably we're going to do 10 o'clock in Tbilisi tomorrow, and then we can, after that hour, then we'll update the current step calibration. All right, now this is a thing that we can do. We can put in what that said specifically. This is what happens. I'm thinking of changing the master prompt to prompt to the following. If you think it is going to get a perfect startup sequence, we can use it in the future. Otherwise, make changes as you see fit, and then we can test the new prompt. All right, let's see what the cursor thinks. Now it's using Gemini 2.5, so it should have a big enough context window to be able to understand what's going on. And it's within this specific environment. All right, now it's going to be changing the prompt. You're right. It's doing this. It's doing this. I'll give it a cruel search. I believe this is a new multi-step prompt. Was well designed. There's a very good chance of achieving the full sequence. I don't see any. Let's proceed with the improved plan. I will now execute the revised plan. Okay. Thing is, I don't know how to get back over here. Okay, which means what? Which one is this one? This is the cursor, revised cursor prompt. Cursor, there we are. Now, I didn't turn off the machine, so I don't know, is that actually going to quick cursor, Docker desktop. Once Docker's off, check Superbase, open Docker, open Docker again, open cursor, paste, enter. Superbase was now found. And then it does this thing. Yeah, it finds it. All right, so we didn't get the errors this time. Hey, look, it's working. Yeah, it doesn't work. It's crazy. Super base command was not found. It always does this. Super base start terminal. Hey, look at that. See, so this is the thing about vibe coding. It's like it's what do you mean vibe coding? I mean, like it's about having the I don't know, like how do I even explain it? There you go. It's operational. That took a million years. Now where's the windsurf? All right, it wants to proceed with the sprint. Or does it say simply cat the context of the master prompt to your clip? Or is it copy? Yeah, exactly. All right, so it's exactly the same as just copying it from Notion. So what do you do if it's like if it's gets stuck? It's taking a freaking million years. All right, because I want to like let's I want to do this on a different day. I don't really want to start up this. I don't even know what's going on. I don't really even know what's going on, to be honest. I have no idea what Sprint 2 is about. I didn't really read it. Okay, so my next JF14 app router is using this one, path this one. All right, so we're sprint number 2 is kicking off. No idea what the heck's going on. But this is the AI first approach, man. But the thing is, the AI first approach, it means that you have to keep documentation. You have to keep really a lot of documentation because if you don't keep up with the documentation, then it's going to come off the rails, man. I have no idea what this thing is doing. Why would it take you this long? I mean, I kind of feel like, why am I using GPT 4.1 when I could be using 3.5 Sonnet? Like, why don't we let somebody else train? Let's change it to this. Like, all right, now we've changed it to 3.5 Sonnet. We got the credits, so why are we playing around with 4.1? I don't know anything about 4.1. I mean, we got the app up and working, but it's not my job to train somebody's model. Cursor successfully created the project. The test completed. Now it's just going to do its own thing. I don't even know if am I even part of this thing now. I have no idea where I am. All right, there you go. So it ran it. It's done. Okay, I kind of just want to. I don't know if it actually did everything. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now I'm vibe coding again. You see this? Vibe coding. I don't even know what's happening. It's vibe coding. I have no idea what's happening. Maybe Sprint 2 is not going to take that long. Browser preview. 2001, 2000, 2001. All right, I gotta end this video.